Okay, one of your mantras since you've been administrator is that the county's charge is to serve all citizens, including those who are struggling financially in other ways. And recently you met with a group of those who serve those in need to discuss homelessness and other issues. And I know you've got another meeting planned soon, but what is the consensus on the greatest needs now and how can the county help?
From all the people at that group, and we had a broad spectrum of people, nonprofits, who have direct contact with the homeless, not somebody who sends $5 to another group to go do something. And so we just talked about what the situation is. We didn't talk about is there a homeless problem, because we know there's one. We didn't talk about, nut stuff, talk about what can we do. And a lot of people that nobody knows about are doing real things, like Dave and Zoe. They have
Hope Missions Zip stuff.
Hope Missions, they have programs where they help people get into houses so they're not homeless. They have a housing navigator. They also have
They've got 47 people already just this year.
47 people in houses who are no longer on the streets. They also have a person who helps them whether they need how to get help for an addiction or what benefits do they require. I mean, you have some people like veterans who have benefits from their service to our country, but they don't know how to get them, or they've fallen so low and in such a sad state that they help them connect with those things, those services that can help them to get them off the street. And then we talked about, the different organizations, and one of the things really came up is housing. If you won't be homeless if there's some place for you to live. Now, the county's working with the Nehemiah Foundation to provide affordable housing with people. We also have, with Anderson Interfaith Ministries, monies to rehabilitate houses so that housing, they can stay in their housing. That's primarily for the older people. But, there's things that can be done to help with this problem, and we need to know what they are. Hopefully along the way we might can dispel some of the things that people think, about the homeless people. And I mean, like we had the people from the soup kitchen there. They serve a lot of people who it comes down to this. They cannot eat and pay their rent or house payment. So the soup kitchen, they're not homeless, okay? But they go to the soup kitchen because they can pay their rent, but they can't afford to buy food. So it's a complex situation, and it's something that we all should do something about. It's in every section of Anderson County. It's in every section of the United States of America. I think a lot of it could be, not all of it, some of it is mental health related, but where do you go for that? And where do you go for that if you don't have any resources? I think that's why what Dave and Zoe do about trying to help people with these resources that might be available that they didn't know about to get some of the treatment. And so it's just an initiative that County Council wants us to pursue to see what we can do to make things better for everybody.
I'm going to get back to mental health in just a second, but I think you've been around a long time too. I think we're seeing the most cooperative effort among our charitable organizations we've ever seen in Anderson. Like you mentioned, AIM helps fund positions for Hope Missions, which helps fund positions for now housing, which they all seem to be working together in ways I've not seen in years gone by.
Well, the problem's too big for one person to do it. There's no reason for them not to work together, and there's no reason for them to duplicate services. There are other places where you'll have 3 or 4 groups doing the same thing and maybe not have enough money to do it well. Good intentions, honorable, wonderful, okay? But maybe if there was just one group attacking this one problem, they would have more money to do something substantial. And so hopefully everybody is doing this. They're staying in their lane, but they're not staying in their lane where they can help each other by doing these things. So I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it just needs to continue.
And one of the things council passed last year was a mental health court to help people who might have been charged with minor offenses, nonviolent offenses, but need mental health care, not jail. Where does that stand, the mental health court?
I think it's just about up and running, and as you know, they also want to extend that mental health court into a veterans court. That's the next step that they want to do. But council is real big on doing something to help people with mental illness. Do they need to be in jail? No, they don't need to be in jail. They need to be in a treatment program. And this is the way they can do that. But people get the impression that you can go to mental health court and everything's hunky-dory. When you go to mental health court or these other things, you will be given things that you have to do. You have to do it, and there are people that will monitor that you're doing it. And if you don't do it, you don't stay in mental health court.
And it's sort of we've seen how it can work with the drug court that's been running for several years now.
Yes,
And that's seen some successful people that avoided jail and got clean and sober. And
yes. Because they're monitored on a regular basis. If you don't follow the course that they have prescribed from you, then you go back into the system.
And the United Way just announced recently an effort with Clubhouse International to build a clubhouse here to help folks with mental health struggles. Is the county going to support that?
County supports just about everything that will help people in Anderson County.
Well, it's spring and paving season is here, and Anderson County's Transportation Committee just approved some C funds for a couple of big projects. How do they choose to prioritize those funds? Somebody asked me that.
Well, one of the way they look at it is where's the most need. I mean, you know, we've mapped out every county road in Anderson County. We know which ones need the most attention. So that goes into it, and then other factors go into it. How does this road connect to this road? That's one of the things people say, well, we're fixing up this road in, let's say, Williamston. All of these roads are connected. It's the same road system. It may be a town road, it may be a county road, it may be a state road. The state's doing a whole lot of paving right now. If you've been out by the Civic Center, you see that they're repaving out there, not on the Civic Center property, but the roads near the Civic Center. They're doing work on 29. All over, you're beginning to see a lot of this money trickling down to Anderson. But it's also, as you pointed out, it is paving season. You have to have the correct temperature to pave. If you pave when it's freezing, you might as well not pave because it's going to come right back up. So we're in the height of paving season.
And we can't talk about that without talking about how for decades there's just not been enough money to take care of the county's 1,534 miles of roads, and that council approved a referendum for November that's going to ask voters to provide a penny sales tax that will fully fund road and bridge maintenance for the first time in Anderson County history. Right now, I'm talking to Matt Hogan. About a third of our roads are already failing or failed. And
Yes.
a third of our bridges cannot be crossed by fire trucks and school buses.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
pretty serious.
I think it's serious if you can't put a school bus or a fire truck across a bridge. That's very
If your
serious.
house is out there on fire,
But the deal is, you would do it for 7 years by law. It would go away at the end of 7 years. People say, well, I've never seen a tax go away. Yeah, it goes away at the end of 7 years, unless the voters vote it back in for another 7 years. But it would raise around $50 million a year, and that would transform the county road system in Anderson County, which, because it touches state roads, transforms them. We're also going to make sure, and we're getting a meeting set up pretty quick, probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're not, but the chamber is, of having all of the towns come to a meeting to talk about what their needs are and how does C funds fit into all of this and what's the state doing, how does this all fit into this. So hopefully that'll be coming together pretty soon. So a date hadn't been set, but we're working towards that.
so that money, the penny sales tax, would help those town roads and municipal roads
Absolutely.
as well.
I mean, everything's in Anderson County is going to be helped. People always say, well, it's in that town. Well, everybody that lives in Pendleton lives in Anderson County. Everybody that lives in Pelzer lives in Anderson County. It's just one big county.
And the other question I hear most often is, how do we know the one penny will go straight to roads?
Because it will be put into a special account, which is open to anybody to look at any day of the week. Nobody's going to get a consulting fee or any of these things. This happened in other places where they just happen to say, well, we need to get a consultant on this. No, not playing that. It will be completely transparent. It will go to roads and bridges. That's it.
And that will be audited
And roads
as well,
and bridges
right?
also get into safety issues. There are some roads that may be pretty good, but they need some work to make them safer.
And it's also an economic development issue as time goes by, correct?
Well, I mean, people want good roads where they locate their companies in, and we're a huge manufacturing center, and with the Italian company, the Finnish company, and we've never mentioned this before, but a French company, those are on the horizon. I'm talking about they're hard on the horizon. They're coming here, they want good roads, but they just love Anderson County, and they want to locate here and be part of it. So we're happy about that. But good roads and recreation are very important, and I know people say, well, recreation is not important. Recreation is extremely important for people who have children, who are senior citizens who like to go take walks. Go out to the Civic Center and see the number of seniors out there walking, and the walking tracks that we support around the county. We have a lot more work to do on that. We're beginning work. One of the things that we have requested out at Kid Venture, because everybody always says, well, now that this is done, Kid Venture's finished. Well, Kid Venture's not done because I've asked the designer to come up with a merry-go-round for people that are in wheelchairs. So they're in the process of coming up with that. That would be at Kid Venture, so that would be part of that. So that's a continuing process. We're going to be beginning repair and maintenance work at Mountain View Park, the only park Anderson County has on Lake Russell, which is below Iva. So that should be starting up this week. We just dedicated the new playground in Powdersville, and it was swamped. 10 seconds after that gate opened, it was covered. And right beside that playground, we're going to, this is big for Senator Cash, it's where the pickleball court's going to be located. So we're excited about that, and we're looking for state money for that. So recreation all over the county. We had a meeting with Pendleton yesterday concerning sewer issues, but one of the issues that came up in that is more recreation in the Pendleton area. That drive is being led by Councilman Brett Sanders to provide more opportunities for recreation. I think the town of Pendleton is going to concentrate more of their efforts on recreation because of the burgeoning growth in that area. So all of those things are going on. Doing something with Veterans Park, where I probably spent more time than any human should at Veterans Park in Pendleton, coaching every softball team in America. But anyway, I wish I could go back and do it again. But all of those things are happening in recreation. I don't know how we got off on that side topic.
Well, I want to talk some more about recreation, but before we do, one of the groups that's important to all these efforts we're talking about is Visit Anderson, and of course they're saying now they're the center of everything. All roads lead to Anderson. Remind people what their charge is exactly and how they work not only with county and large, but the municipalities in particular.
Well, in a couple of weeks, we got the Chili Cook-Off, and then we have the Star Festival coming up. Next weekend, we have the college fishing tournament, 250 boats, probably 2,000 people who are going to be in Anderson who wouldn't otherwise be in Anderson. But it's their job to promote all of those events, to not only try to make people in Anderson County aware of what's going on, but to reach people in the surrounding areas to tell them what's going on, so they will come to Anderson and they will spend their money here in Anderson that will help our merchants and our citizens prosper and do a lot of business. That's the sole function of that organization, is to drive people to Anderson to spend their money on tourism-related activities.
I don't think a lot of people realize their activity in the cities, though, because like they're working for the soiree.
They're involved in the soiree. They're involved in every event. Their job is to promote people outside of Anderson, as well as inside, but outside. It's very hard these days to get a solid, consistent message going out about what's happening in the county. But we have three organizations. Visit Anderson has a very active website. The county has an active website. Economic Development has an active website, trying to get this information out about what's going on, what you can do, and what time it is, and things like that. But again, we're in the beginning of festival season.
And that back to Dolly Cooper, they just had the playground thing, and they're getting ready for Rhythm on the River,
and that's going to be a very big event. It's grown every year. You probably have 15,000 people out there, if not more, and that's a huge event at Dolly Cooper for something that 10 years ago there was nothing out there until we put the kayak launch out there. But now we have the kayak launch. We have another one at the park. We're developing that park in Piedmont. And we're doing most of this with grant money, in just case people want to know, because we snatch every dollar that somebody wants to give away. So all of that is wonderful for that area of the county, and it's going to continue to grow. And that draws a lot of people into that area, but it's also a resource. Thanks to Senator Cash and other representatives, we're getting lights up on the ball fields up there. That's in the process. They're doing the preliminary work up there. We're doing some lighting work for our cricket team out there. As you know, they're having their first night cricket match coming up, and we're expecting a large crowd for that. They're going to be playing the Evil team from Greenville, so everybody should come out and support the Anderson cricket team. So we're looking forward to that, and they're going to be feeding people for free, so it ought to be a great event.
Before we get away from recreation completely, any update on the playground at the airport?
We're still pursuing money on that. We have a request into the state for the balance of that money for the airport playground, but that brings me up before, and Steve Newton, who works here, was talking to people at the playground, the young mothers and fathers, and said, until this playground was here, where did you go for this experience? They sent to Greenville Downtown Airport. Airport playgrounds are big deals because not only can you play, but you can watch airplanes. So we're excited about that, and hopefully we'll know something by June on the bulk of that funding. Also remember, we received mega $100,000 contributions from people on the airport playground.
You talked about the importance of funding. How key is our legislative delegation to making sure Anderson gets on those lists rather than some other county?
It is very, very important because everybody's going to get something, but you have to have somebody who has some horsepower to get on that list. And our legislative delegation, Senator Cash has been wonderful getting the money for Kid Venture and getting the money for Dolly. Senator Gambrell, who not only gets money for his area and for every activity there, but he also helps countywide. He really doesn't see district lines. If you need help, he's there to help you. Anthayer's been a godsend. I mean, Don Chapman's doing a good job. Our delegation is very good. And if you don't ask, I mean, that's tax money. And if we don't ask, if they don't ask, then it's going to go to Clarendon County or it's going to go to Dorchester. Why can't we have nice things too? But if you don't ask, I promise you, you won't receive.
Well, Visit Anderson's also been working with the city of Anderson on this upcoming international network of Michelin cities, and I know the county's a major sponsor for this event. How will the county benefit from this gathering?
Well, I think you're going to have people coming from all over the world to Anderson, and they're all Michelin cities that have a Michelin plant. Who has more Michelin plants than anybody else in the world? We do. And is that fixing to get even larger? Yes, it's getting larger here. So it gives Anderson international exposure. But remember, I just mentioned to you earlier, an Italian company, a Finnish company, and a huge French thing that's about to happen. I mean, whether you like it or not, Anderson is an international city. And all the growth that's taking place in downtown Anderson, I mean, you can't go to Pendleton. You can just give up on that unless you want to park somewhere else. I mean, all of that goes into this mix to make this a desirable place to live. All of that's important, and it's another thing to put Anderson County on the map, because they're not just going to be in the city of Anderson. They're going to be in Pendleton. They're going to be out at Green Pond, the gift that continues to give. So all of this stuff, it's separate, but it's part of a whole.
You've been involved almost since the beginning, not quite, with Michelin coming to Anderson County. How important has Michelin been to Anderson County?
Well, they were the first large foreign company to come here. And since then, they've grown and grown and grown and grown. I mean, it's very important. I told you earlier, and I know sometimes we repeat things, and I don't mean to, but the reason we have two Irish companies is because we got one Irish company. Because they said, y'all need to come over here. These guys are all right. You know, they like us, we like them. It's very important. It puts you on the map. Michelin's known around the world. That gives you credence. That takes you to another level. Well, if that company thinks it's good to go to Anderson, then, you know, it's safe for us to go there too. That's how that works.
How did we get Michelin here to start with? You know where all the things are.
All I can tell you, it was very hard, and people should always remember Mr. Pete Stathakis, who pulled that magic.
On another county project, Equinox Mill cleanup, that would be a major boon not only to the county but the city of Anderson expanding westward. Any update on that?
Yes. On the preliminary list, they are second in line to receive assistance. And I don't want to jinx it, but if it stays there, we could have a groundbreaking in a month or two. After all of this effort, that whole Equinox site will be transformed into houses, small businesses that fit, affordable housing. It will be a huge extension for the city of Anderson, and we're very excited about that. Council purchased that land to clean it up. We've got a developer who's going to clean it up, and I can't wait for that to happen. But our other mill sites are drawing a lot of attention, so we're excited about that. We have a couple that we could get redeveloped right now, but the people who own them are holding out and don't want to sell them. We can't make them sell them, but hopefully they'll come around too. So we think a lot of good things are coming to Anderson. We know a lot of good things are coming to Anderson.
Just that cleanup of that Equinox property is going to be
It's going to be huge.
Change the view of everything.
It's going to change the view of everything after those people have looked at it for so long.
And then the not so visible projects, you mentioned sewer. What's the latest on the I-85 exit 14 sewer project?
It is ready to go now, and just like really recently ready to go. So we expect people to start doing what they told us they were going to do. So we're excited about that.
Any businesses ready to locate?
There's some there, but we can't talk about them at this time. And there's some jockeying for position on now that it's extremely available, that some people are trying to knock other people out so that they can go there. And that's a good problem to have. We're not involved in that. Y'all fight it out. We just put the sewer there.
One other thing that's happened since the last time we met is the announcement of more broadband expansion in Anderson County. Have you been satisfied with the progress, and how happy has this made Mike Gamble to finally have internet at his house?
Well, he was one of the last people to get it, but he's very happy with it. But we have a lot of people in that area. A very nice, wonderful man named Richard Taylor, who sells cows all over the world from his farm in Honeypath, outside of Honeypath.
The Taylors have been in cattle
Been doing that forever and a day. He's very happy, but you can't hardly work anymore unless you have broadband. I know that there are other options that you can get, but people like this, and they love Upcountry Fiber. And they have, every time they get some money, they put it in the ground. They're efficient, they move. But the other cable companies have begun to do a little something too. So that's all good. But we won't be happy until everybody in Anderson County who wants broadband can get broadband. That's our goal. That's why we partnered with these people to do that.
Is it true the other cable companies sort of got a poke when they realized somebody else was coming in to provide broadband?
We put out an RFQ. Please come in. Everybody was available to do it. Upcountry Fiber stepped up. They said, let's go. And we've assisted them, and they've more than assisted us. So we're very happy about that. And somebody new gets hooked up every day, so you can't beat that.
And spring also means we're only a few weeks away from the opening of Anderson County Farmers Market. Any changes or any news for this year?
No, I think, like you said, it's about to open. We expect to have a great opening day. As a matter of fact, it will be opening the same time as Soiree is, so that'll kind of anchor some activities down there, but we're looking forward to that. Sharon does a magnificent job, and we just look forward to it and look forward to some of the good things you can get down there.
And I know I've been asking you this question for years and years, but are we ever going to have one downtown?
Not this year.
Eventually?
Eventually, I hope.
And finally, this month is Great American Cleanup Time, Greater Anderson Cleanup Time, and the county's encouraging individuals and groups to clean up the county, providing bags and trash grabbers and safety vests. I know this has always been a big issue for you. I've seen you picking up trash outside the courthouse. The county added a litter officer this year, and what else is the county doing to help reduce litter?
Well, one of the things that county council did is we created a codes enforcement department. They made some changes in state law that hamstrung our litter officers for reasons we don't understand. We've been untangling that, but that led council to establish a codes enforcement operation that has a broader range of powers, and they passed laws. It's been highly effective in getting rid of lots, dirty lots, and things like that. So that's been a big push, cleaning up Anderson County. But the state is now picking up litter on a more regular basis on state roads. That's something that we argued about for years. These are state roads. You need to pick up the trash on the state roads. We'll take care of the county. But as you know, thank goodness for the sheriff's office. They send 2 crews out on a daily basis to the hardest, dirtiest areas to pick up trash. And they do a great job. So this is real easy. If people wouldn't throw stuff out, we wouldn't have to do any of this. But unfortunately, they still do it. Can't say enough about Greg Smith and the Solid Waste Department and their year-round commitment and innovative ideas that they do to try to make Anderson County clean and beautiful.
And if people can't make the kickoff, they can go out anytime during the month, and they'll give them bags and vests.
Any time, we'll do it any time of the year. If you want an orange vest and you want a grabber and you call us, we'll make sure you get it. Just probably every day except Christmas Day. We'll be happy to bring it to you if you want it.
And finally, this is a broader question, but how would you rate the current state of the Anderson County economy?
I think it's booming. Well, you've got AgPro that's going out on the bypass. I mean, that's going to happen. There's another car dealership going over there. If you go to Lakeside Shopping Center and you look at the sign, there's a huge medical complex that's going in Lakeside Shopping Center, which we've been trying everything we can to get that back up. This is going to be a huge boost on that. You've got several other entities that are looking at that. Things are looking at 81. you were there at the Whataburger announcement. I mean, Whataburger's a big deal. Obviously, the number of people who ask us about it, but Pendleton's getting a Whataburger too. But you've got other ones that are coming in. But what we really like is when local people jump in and open up restaurants. And, you know, if you got one restaurant, somebody might go to it. If you got two, you got choices. I always believe the more you have, you achieve critical mass. And everybody does better than just one person alone because you have options. You're going to go there. You may not know what you want to eat, but if you ride around a place that has a lot of places to eat, you'll find something. But we're always trying to push local people, local entrepreneurs, hometown people doing good, makes everybody on council feel good.
And you mentioned there are also some big announcements on the horizon as soon.
Yes, very soon. Maybe as 2 weeks.